Natasha. How are you?
I am amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Michelle. You are the best.
Oh, no, you are the best. I just love you to death. And it's been a while since I've seen you. Let's go all the way back to, well, it was before Miami because I didn't see you in Miami. It was the year before at NABJ.
Yeah, the time flies. So yeah, 2018
Detroit.
NABJ. And it was the year that, we had a lot to celebrate that year.
Yes, absolutely. And you had a lot to celebrate, and everybody was celebrating you. So we went to a dinner, happened to be one that was honoring you, and my agency was hosting it at the time for a totally different client. And I got to see you there. We took some pictures and all. But that year, you took home Journalist of the Year, which was awesome.
Oh. Yeah, they named me Emerging Journalist of the Year, and it's just incredible because, first of all, Black people are just talented, period.
Yeah.
But when you talk about media and journalism, there's so many people who are doing great things for the culture. And so it's just an honor whenever you receive an award like that, because you know that there are, 5 other people who could be right up there with you in that moment. So I was truly humbled and appreciative of the opportunity, and have been building and busy ever since.
That's why and you have really brought the griot a long way. I remember when it kind of appeared on social media, when everybody kind of appeared on social media, and it was one of the go-to sources for sure in your Twitter and Facebook feeds to get Black news. But now it's so much more.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. It's been a journey for us. The Griot, some people don't know, but we are a Black-owned media company. So Byron Allen, a media mogul who is the owner of Entertainment Studios and the Weather Channel, acquired the Griot. The Griot started at NBC, went independent, and then found a new home with Byron Allen. So through all that transition, there was a lot of change. And yeah, our dream, our vision is to make it the go-to destination for Black news and storytelling, quality storytelling. So that's what we've been investing in.
Well, it's fantastic. But before we get too deep into this conversation, what do you think we have a Culture Soup moment?
I think it's time. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Awesome. Okay, so Natasha, we're in a pandemic. Like, you can't get around it. You know what I mean? And everywhere you turn.
I'm in a sweatshirt and hoodie right now.
Look.
A pandemic. I'm working from home. It's been more than 30 days.
Yeah, and you got to be okay with it. You just have to be good with it. You've been through a lot. And, one of the hashtags that's circulating that will not stop is hashtag coronavirus or hashtag COVID-19. But there's something to this disease that's hitting Black folks and Latinos more than anyone, the numbers are saying. And you guys are looking into it at the Griot, right?
That's right. So, every day we made sure that as soon as coronavirus arrived in the U.S., right, we knew that we had to look out for our community and to tell our stories. And we've been keeping a running list of stories of Black families who have lost loved ones to coronavirus. And it's just heartbreaking. Every day there's a new obituary, and really beyond any particular age group, you see from young people to old people. So it's just really hitting close to home. And we are basically being validated in a lot of ways, because when you work for a Black outlet and you talk about racism, a lot of people gaslight you and they say that it's not real,
right?
That we should be over it. And the numbers just go to show the disparity is baked into the DNA of this country. And that is why you're seeing these disproportionate deaths for this supposed great equalizer, which we see, is not an equalizer.
It's just so sad. And so many of us have had close brushes. You've had one that's pretty uncomfortable, close for comfort, wouldn't you say? You were at an event, and so many people were right before the stay-at-home orders happened across the United States, where everybody thought everything was okay, and then you get home and you get a call or an email.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, people were talking about coronavirus in the news, but no one had really rung the alarm that we should not be out and about. So I went to a media conference where I was a panelist. And of course, you talk to people, you shake hands. Obviously, we were a little more conservative than usual, but we got a notice that someone at that conference had tested positive for coronavirus. Obviously, thoughts and concerns went out to them immediately, but then you think, well, they didn't release the name, so I don't know. Did I come into contact I have lupus,
Right.
which disproportionately impacts African American women. And so that meant that, my immune system made me part of the vulnerable population, wasn't feeling too well. So I went in and I got a test after, more than a couple hours wait, and really just anxiety filled experience. I was very uncomfortable. If you've seen this thing on TV, you see they stick, the swab all the way back as far as it can go in your head on both sides. But despite the, this discomfort, I was blessed to have the test come out negative.
Good.
And have been, under quarantine ever since. But it was very scary. And it's something that a lot of people are experiencing right now across the country and around the world.
Yeah, so many stories. You're a storyteller, and you have also been so very brave to put your stories out there, not just around lupus. You told a story about coming into contact, possibly, with COVID-19. This is how we know these things, because we follow you and you share. But you're so interested in so many other people's stories, too, and how businesses are being impacted. I wanted to talk to you about the series that the Griot is doing right now about Black businesses when it comes to COVID-19.
Yes, so we have partnered with Facebook Watch, and we released a series about how Black businesses are surviving COVID-19, right? Because we know that when America, they say, gets a cold, Black America catches the flu.
Yes.
There's always that analogy that we get it worse. And it's true. Many Black business owners have said that they did not get any of that PPP money that was meant to, help with payroll protection. Folks, we are overrepresented in fields like health and beauty, hair and beauty, excuse me. And so barbershops are shut down, right? We're overrepresented in the restaurant industry, and you can't sit down and go somewhere to eat. So what are these Black entrepreneurs supposed to do? So the Griot, it's a 4-part series where we look at 4 different industries: beauty, food. The next one coming up is going to be the gig economy, all of our Uber drivers and Lyft drivers who were already trying to make a living doing that, now seeing their, business kind of ground to a halt. It's a very important series. It's a necessary series. And we are unapologetic about the fact that we're focusing on Black business because, yes, all businesses are affected. But when we come out of this, there's a greater chance that our businesses will not be reopening, at a higher rate than other businesses.
Well, and what are you hearing? Because I know there are those who are saying they didn't get the PPP because it ran out, first of all. But second of all, you had these big businesses out there taking advantage of it. Some of them have returned, but still.
Yeah, they knew better.
Yeah, that kind of puts us on the short end of the stick. But I wonder, because I've had this feeling, I don't really trust the process. They say that it's going to be forgiven. Do we trust that? Do you find that there are people out there that just don't trust the process enough to even apply?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the fact that the money ran out in 14 days, think about if you're just trying to navigate red tape, you're trying to survive, you were trying to get your paperwork together, and then you hear that the money has already run out. We spoke with business owners like Ben's Chili Bowl and, the famed location in Washington, D.C., who had not heard about their PPP application. And then after a lot of press, all of a sudden it was magically approved. They got their loan approved, right? So it just goes to show that we sometimes have to apply pressure and, things don't happen just because they're supposed to happen. There are other businesses. Conjo Ethiopian Food is one restaurant in Denver, Colorado. They were one of the first Ethiopian food trucks to open in that area. And they applied and they didn't hear anything back. So there's just a lot of people in this waiting mode, and it's understandable why they fear that it's not going to come through.
Yeah. And well, honestly, a lot of these banks are a little bit confused on the process too, as I understand it. So they're trying to get their ducks in a row.
Exactly. And we did an interview with the president of the U.S. Black Chamber, Ron Busby, and he was just talking about how traditionally the relationship with banks, these big banks in the Black community, hasn't been good to begin with.
Exactly.
Right? We're denied loans. We often, are treated differently because of our credit. And so you already have this foundation of mistrust. And so in a crisis, when fear and anxiety is even higher, it makes sense why, that distrust, that mistrust still prevails.
Okay. Well, tell everybody how they can watch it. We know it's Facebook Live, but when is it on and how do you catch it?
Yeah. So it's every Tuesday and it's on Facebook Watch. So you can just go to the Grio's page on Facebook. Just look up the Grio. That's Grio, no T. And you will see it pinned at the top of our page. So every Tuesday. And yeah, we're excited. And your support means a lot. Like partnering with an organization as big as Facebook is a pretty big deal. That's the intersection of tech and media. And showing them that Black stories do get views, do get, conversation going, that is important.
That's good.
Every view counts.
That's awesome. We've all watched Red Table Talk, and that's done really, really well. But I'd love to see some other Black shows do well.
Exactly. Right. And show that, there's a range. We have range now.
Yes.
Pop culture. We could talk Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce in one breath. And in the next, we could talk about businesses and entrepreneurship. And there's room for all of it.
Absolutely. Now, you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of awards you get for this. It wouldn't be the first.
Wow. Well, that would be amazing. Certainly we are open to all those types of blessings. But I have to say the entrepreneurs who were featured, just hearing them say, thank you for sharing my story, for showing that like we're not forgotten, that makes the work worth it.
Right.
In the middle of a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going through this with our families too. We're recording and, doing things from home without the normal resources that we have. So, hustling for these stories, it's worth it in the end.
Yeah. So, Natasha, you got to tell the people your story. You didn't just start. You've been at this for a while. And now you're the vice president of digital content at the Grio, which is not anything to sneeze at. And I remember seeing you going on what could have been a press junket with Byron Allen. And you were interviewing him along the way. And I remember looking at that and going, ooh, she's about to pop. She's about to blow up now. I mean, you were already big, but then you got promoted. And it's such a well-deserved honor. How did you get here from there? I mean, from there, here, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It was a journey. Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm obviously grateful for, any opportunity to grow in my career. Listen, I think what I will tell people is one, this journey and kind of like finding what you love to do. There will be many failures that are part of the process. Mm-hmm. That's how you get to where you are. I didn't go into journalism until 5 years after I graduated college. It took me 5 years to just kind of get the clarity to be like, actually, this is what I was put on earth to do. Mm-hmm. I did other jobs. Mm-hmm. I worked at a hedge fund, the world's largest institutional hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates, and learned a ton there. Yeah. But just didn't really feel connected to the work. I really felt like this was not using my God-given talents. Right. And I went into education, with the intention of serving and changing my community. And that was an incredible and transformative experience. But that was one of those, am I doing this because people say I'm good at it and I should do it? Or is this like actually what I want to do for the rest of my life? And so having the courage to walk away from that, at 27, when people are going to grad school or settling down and be like, I'm going to start all over. I'm going to go into an industry where they're not paying well. Yeah. There's no guarantee that I'm going to succeed, and I'm just going to do it. And so that was the journey. It was getting closer and closer to finding my voice, ignoring the voices that didn't matter, many of them in my head, of telling me what I should do. Yeah. And, and then ultimately going into media. I started as a TV news reporter. So I was in the more traditional kind of broadcast, out in the field covering crime scenes and doing all that. Learned a ton from that. But really, it's the Grio, this digital news brand, which was, just really, it was in a transitional stage. We were working out of a co-working space and, they had downsized the staff significantly. And you can walk into a situation and it not be perfect. Yeah. And you want to get out because you're like, oh, this is not, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But you have to see the opportunity. Yes. And so I saw opportunity at the Grio and I stuck it out and did not know that Byron Allen would acquire us that year. Right. You never knew. So if I had moved too soon, I would have missed my blessing in terms of connecting with this particular businessman and kind of understanding his vision for media and building at the Griot so that I could be in a position to then lead the brand.
Yeah.
So yeah, positioning, patience, working hard, that was really what the past 4+ years have been about. And putting people first, the stories that I tell. I think that's what's continued to kind of drive the journalism. And now that I'm leading the brand and leading other journalists, every day, that's what grounds what we do.
Yeah.
So it's not about clickbait. It's not about, media that people forget, but it's about making media that people remember, media that makes a difference. And so I love it. I wake up every day and I love being able to work with a team of journalists and storytellers who are just really incredible people and have that same vision. So yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. And you know what? I got to shout out because you highlighted a few things that are so important to a leadership model, not just for brands, but for individuals. And I'm a certified coach. So I'm always about the executive coaching and the business coaching. So let's pull this out right quick. What you described was running to the risk. When you see an opportunity that looks a little suspect, but it actually needs somebody to come in to build or fix, and you ran to the risk, that's a transformational leader. And that's what you are. Yes.
I love that phrase. Yeah, I'm a risk runner, that's for sure.
Yes. And you know what? You have to be there at the time when the change happens. Because change happens two ways.
Yeah, and you have to stick it out.
Yes.
Because, there were hard days. I saw a lot of transition, and I will say that's what my previous career stops have taught me, how to endure organizational change. Because some people can't take it. They can't handle change. It frustrates them. They take it personally. They don't know how to endure, or again, they lose sight of the opportunity that is still in front of them.
Right.
And so, sticking it out, making mistakes, not being defined by those mistakes, all of those things I think helped. But running towards the risk is big. And sometimes people want to win without the sacrifice.
Yes, ma'am.
They want to win with no skin off their back, and it's no, you're gonna make some sacrifices.
Yes.
But in the end, it will come together.
Absolutely. There's another thing I want to shout out. You talked about consistency and great storytelling, not just with brands, but also with people. That's what inspires people and draws people to you. When you're able to tell inspiring stories that actually impact the world and not just yourself. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh man, that's amazing. And if anyone sees me or my team's work in that way, that's the ultimate compliment, right? And that's another thing I now am at the stage where I have mentees and they don't see the immediate gratification and they ask, am I doing something wrong? And it's no, you're not doing anything wrong. Just keep planting those seeds.
Right.
You tell one good story, that person will go and tell 10 people that you did a great job.
Yeah.
And you may not have the same platform as, a CNN, right? But those 10 people will tell someone else who tells someone else, and you build your own audience.
Yes.
Right. Then that audience is leverage for you.
Yes.
So, don't be afraid to start small.
And you're so right to have your heart and soul in it. Because if you're disconnected from your work, you don't have a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And someone asked me, they're like, how'd you get up to the ranks in Apple Podcasts and Business News? And I was like, you know what? First of all, it wasn't my goal. My goal was to do consistently good work. And it just happened. And sometimes we just have to be willing, right?
Absolutely. You said it. It's doing the work. And again, it's so easy to focus on the position, right? It's the same way that, you can think about college like this or anything. We think that a certain brand, if we associate ourselves with that, it will position us. But if you actually do the work, you draw energy towards you.
Yes.
You draw people towards you. You draw that success where you are, and then you can go wherever you want.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, it's
good.
It's part of
and
the
you
journey.
know what? You have been the model of this, and I just love watching your story unfold. One thing that you've done is that you have just been brave about sharing you authentically, whether you're, in the Caribbean at Carnival, whether you're back home and That was great though. And you're sharing stories about being Black and Latino. And I say it like that for a reason. I have a friend who is Black and Latino. And one day I said, "You're Afro-Latino." And she's like, wait. Don't say that. I was like, did I say something wrong?
Oh, yeah. Everyone's in a different place when it comes to how they feel about identity, what they want to be called. It's a really interesting time. But yeah, no, let's talk about it.
Let's go for it. So why did you feel the need that you needed to talk about being Black and Latino? Was it just that people just weren't used to the idea that you could be both?
Yeah. So this started selfishly as a personal journey, right? I was in college. I would say, I was about college age, and I was writing a thesis. And I decided to focus that thesis on Afro-Puerto Rican female rappers, right? Because it was just all this intersection of, we are not seen. You know, when people think of Latina, they think of J-Lo, right? They think of Shakira. There's a certain look. Right. But people like me, I didn't see us represented. So I went into a kind of academic research mode to try to find answers around this. And then eventually it became like a reporting block for me. It became a reporting beat that I was like, let me tell these stories of my own community. But to your question, I think, or even the separation of Black and Latino as if they're completely different it's not reflective of history, right? Like the Latino, when you think of that terminology, things that you would consider part of Latin culture, the music, the food, all of that is influenced by Africa. Africa contributed to that. So there's no Latinidad without Blackness, right? But I think the term Black, a lot of people associate with Black American culture, or African American culture, which is a specific community and group, which I actually belong to also. My dad is African American. So because of that, like cultural pride, national pride, you know, there are many Latinos who they believe that their national identity supersedes anything. So if I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican. Yeah. I'm not Black. I'm not white. I'm Puerto Rican. They're not thinking in terms of race in the way that we think of race in the United States, because we have a history of segregation and institutional racism that was very explicit about keeping groups separate. So it's so much to unpack that it deserves books, it deserves conversations, it deserves podcasts, it deserves videos. Yes. And that was part of why I put myself in the story. And I was like, hey, you know, as I'm figuring this out, I'm going to share how I'm learning about my own identity, but also how others are talking about it. And so wrote a story for the New York Times, wrote a couple stories in The Guardian, ended up getting a grant through the Pulitzer Center. Awesome. And I have all of these stories about Afro-Latinx life, but I just keep emphasizing that this is just one perspective, my perspective, when I share my story. And also we're just scratching the surface because we've been ignored for so long that a lot of people don't even know their own history. Right. And you were just recently on NPR. Yes, I was talking about the story I did around the census and how Black Puerto Ricans in particular decide what they are on the census. And for years, the census in Puerto Rico has been saying that the island was majority white. Wow. And we just know that that's not possible. Yeah. Right? So what is the psychology behind choosing white when you're not actually white? Right? Is it motivated by politics? Is it motivated by self-hatred? Is it motivated by assimilation? Or is it a kind of a radical challenging of whiteness? These are all questions that I kind of sought to answer through the story. And I profiled these Black Puerto Rican women who are asking people to check Black on the census. They started this whole campaign. So it's really radical. You know, I think a lot of people only think of Latinos in the sense of they deny their Blackness, but I chose to focus on people who embrace their Blackness and were rallying others to love their Black skin, their Black culture, you know, their Black heritage, because it disrupts the narrative. Totally does. That's what it's all about. Totally. That's all so good. Now, you guys have gotten into podcasting. Yes, the Griot has a podcast now. Yay! Yes. Tell me about it. So the Griot's flagship podcast is called Dear Culture. And, we call it like a love letter to the culture.
Okay.
Every week we look at some aspect of what's happening in the news as it relates to our culture. And we have incredible guests who are leaders, thought leaders, influencers in our culture who also address issues. So recently we had Soledad O'Brien talking about the media
Love her.
as it relates to the Black community. Damon John from Shark Tank talking about power shifting and embracing your own power and not like yielding your power to people when you shouldn't be giving it away. We had Tressie McMillan Cottom. She's a sociology professor, and she talked about the idea of hustling and how Black people have had to hustle and improvise through pandemic. We talked about Black AF, culture soup, right? That was a hotly debated topic.
Wow.
So you can always come to our podcast expecting that whatever is, most pressing in Black America in different arenas, we're going to unpack it and you'll learn something new.
You're doing it all. How do you you said staying busy is helping you during this time. That's for sure. But my goodness, this is a slowdown and it doesn't sound slow.
No, it's a weekly podcast on top of a Facebook partnership series, on top of just the news that we cover, on top of my inbox of thousands of emails that I need to open. It's a lot, but what a time to be alive, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to literally do as much as I can until I can't do it anymore. So obviously self-care and rest is very important. And with having a chronic illness like lupus, it requires me to do so. So that is my, kind of thorn in the side that will always be there, reminding me to, slow down and take a break. But there's a lot of work to do. And I think it's a privilege to be Black, to be young, and to be in media.
Yeah.
Man, like at this time where we have social media just kind of disrupting everything. Yeah, we have to do this work.
Absolutely. I tell anybody that it just has an inkling to do something, write a blog, do a podcast, whatever it is, do it. Just try it.
What are you waiting for? What's the worst that could happen? And some of the most influential people now came from places where people said, oh, they'll never be X, Y, Z.
Totally.
So much of it is how you see yourself and your willingness to hold on to that self-awareness at all costs. Like, I think that's so key.
That's so good. Natasha, where can people find you on social media and follow you?
Oh, yeah. Catch up with me on the socials. I'm on Instagram the most, to be honest. It's Natasha S. Alford. That's S as in Sam. And yeah, it's the same on Twitter, Natasha S. Alford. And I also have a work/business page on Facebook.
Okay.
But find me, message me. I get super busy. Obviously, I'm managing a team. I'm not an influencer. Like, I don't see myself in that way. I really am a media executive, a millennial media executive. So I have work to do, but I really try to engage with people. And it's a great way to send me your story or tell us what's going on, in your world. So that way we can connect on the Griot.
And y'all, she's telling the truth. If you email her, she answers. If you text her, she answers. She's the real one.
It'll take a while, but I do answer.
Yes, she's a real one. Natasha, you guys have any more projects you want to share that are coming up?
Oh, yeah. Look out for us in June. That's Black Music Month. So, we have some good content coming up around that. And once this coronavirus quarantine is over and travel becomes safe again, we will get back to publishing a lot of the great travel content that we've been working on. Shout out to South Africa. I went to South Africa for the first time in my life, and it was just a transformative experience. I have more content that's sitting, that needs to come out for that. The U.S. Virgin Islands, I'm a huge fan of the Caribbean. So, but yeah, we have more travel content. And if you're an influencer, a writer, a Black creative, just reach out to us because we are building and expanding our brand every day.
Wonderful. Well, the Culture Soup is here for you. So you know where to find me and you let me know. I would love to partner with the Griot. Whatever you guys need, we'll just support.
Oh, your expertise and the depth of what you have to offer the community is just so there.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, it's like a no-brainer that we should partner,
Yeah.
and we'll have to work together.
That would be great. Natasha, you are phenomenal. My sister, love you. Thank you for
Yes, my
coming on.
sister. Love you too. Stay safe, okay?
You
Take care of
too.
yourself and stay inside as long as you
I
can.
know
Enjoy
that's
it.
right. Stay home. Hashtag stay home.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you so
Thanks so
much. I'm going
much.
to turn off this recorder.